Mr. Doherty?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Mr. Roach?
Here.
Mrs. Smith?
Here.
Chairman Smith?
Here.
And let the record show that Edward Nazaro, staff attorney, and Gregory Dunham, town manager, and let's see, who else we got here? Amanda Jones, an alternate, are all here. Absent with notice is Carolyn Delafield and John Randolph, town attorney.
Thank you, Rita. Everyone has received in advance the draft of the minutes of our prior meeting of September 27th. Does anybody have any comments, corrections, suggestions? If not, could I have a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the draft minutes of the meeting of Thursday, September 27th, 2018.
Second. Rita?
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Roche?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes. Does anyone have any additions, withdrawals, deferrals, or other changes they'd like to make to any items on the agenda this morning? Thank you. You have in front of you the scheduled meeting dates for the next 5 months. You see that the November meeting was moved from the Thanksgiving week until November 15th. December's is 2 days after Christmas. I think Malcolm has already told us he can't be here January 24th. Anybody have any other project?
I can't be here on December 27th.
Okay. You can always let us know at a later date. All right, then we'll bring ourselves to the public hearing, and the first one would be a declaration of ex parte communication. Has anyone on the board had any ex parte communication over either of these two items presented today? Rita, would you administer the oath to anyone who is going to speak today?
Certainly. Anyone's going to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you, Rita. First up is Mark Marsh with an application for development approval of a home, I believe, on the east side of A1A at 3377 North Ocean Boulevard.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. For the record, Mark Marsh, Bruce Marsh Architects. I'm here representing East Bluff Trust, LLC. And the property, as noted, is, I'm going to have to do this, sorry. 3377 North Ocean Boulevard. It's, what we have illustrated here right now is the proposed demolition, which is part of the application. The lot is, quite a unique lot. It has this little bit of a protrusion on the north side, and then it conforms to usually a normal standard beachfront lot. The intent here, the history is, this house was built originally for the Van Lennep's, which was many years ago, and it was really a typical Gulf Stream Bermuda house. About 10 years ago, Thomas Meyer, the designer, bought it, renovated it with his partner, and really did no justice to the house. It was really, for lack of a word, a kind of tacky, tidied up job. The owner, who now lives in a condominium on the ocean, saw the lot, fell in love with it, and asked us to evaluate whether we could renovate this existing residence, or was it better to tear it down. We did some research, and obviously apart from the kind of poor renovation that had been done previously, the materials that were used were inferior, that were storm or hurricane impact. There were suspicious structural issues, but more importantly, the flood elevation, or FEMA standard, was the current house is at 14. As most of you know, FEMA now is 17.5 for the finished floor. So with all that in mind, the decision was to demolish everything on the site, except for the front wall and the motor court area, which will, Matt Jackman, who's here with Navera Williams, will be presenting the landscape hardscape, but we want to maintain that area. A little bit of history of why we developed it. The owner has a great affection for both the ocean and the sunset, and I think most people may know her, but she does live in 4001, and obviously affords both ocean and west exposure. But being higher, she wanted to have a better connection to the ocean, because obviously this is right on the ocean. So she came to us and said, how could we preserve that natural contact to the ocean, and more importantly, establish a nice western, calm, peaceful area where she could appreciate the setting sun and have both, preserve both exposures. So with that in mind, we did a number of studies, and we have come up with a somewhat unique answer to the site development of the project. As I mentioned, this is the site plan now. The entry stays where it is. The front wall is remaining. The motor court area here is being preserved and renovated and restored. So what we decided, in the current house, if you've ever been there, you walk past the garage and you come up through a very meandering pathway past the pool to the entry of the house, which is here. We tried that, but we found that to preserve both the openness to the ocean and then to create a very passive open area to the west, anything that created a pathway through this, let's just call it the south half of the property, would disturb that. So what we decided to do is, in developing it, we have maintained and actually exceeded all the setbacks of the property. We've created an entryway on the north side of the property, which comes up through a pathway, through a sequence of very shallow stepping, because again, we have to elevate the property by about 3 feet over what currently exists, till you come up to a platform, and the entry of the house is actually here. I don't want to steal Matt's steam. He'll show you on the hardscape and landscaping. But what happens is you come up the pathway, you then go over a pool, water element here. This is an open trellised terraced area which you can see through to this very passive lawn garden. And the whole sense of arrival is then you're going to be able to see the ocean, and you'll be able to see the yard. And it's more of a surprise. It's kind of disjointed and fragmented purposely to kind of create a more informal use of the property, but preserve the views both to the east and the west. I'll let Matt go into the pool design and location. And as I said, we're under the required or allowable square footage. We exceed all the setbacks and lot coverage and open space. So there are no issues there with that. I can go in here. So this is a floor plan, the ground floor plan. This is that pathway I just mentioned coming up over this water feature here, which is just a very reflective pool, up to the front door. This, you look at, and there's a pathway to the ocean here. You then come into a foyer, and then again, because of the program requirements, we created a great room, which is center in the residence, which is wide open to the ocean and to this lawn area on the west. Along with that, you have the kitchen, a lounge area. There's no real family room. The back of the house, and then on the ocean side, there's a media room on this wing. And I think one of the most interesting areas is this winter porch, which is an open covered structure, which is very casual, beam ceiling, very open fireplace, but is open basically on all sides to a trellis patio on the west. Then on the, what would be the west wing, there's a guest room here separated by that open terrace trellis area, like a garden deck, and then another guest room here, and then the garage. The garage is again out of sight basically, and in the least desirable space in preserving the openness of the design. The second floor, you come up, that's a foyer below, a staircase, very simple, and in effect, this is the whole master suite. Again, the master suite is laid out, again, and I hate to keep repeating it, but the criteria was to have that direct relationship with the ocean and the sunset, is that this is a sitting room for the afternoon sun, this is the master, the actual sleeping area, and then this is the master bath and dressing area. On the south side, southeast side, from below that media room, you have another guest bedroom which has its own private stair. So the intent here was to create as much openness and connection to the outside. The other thing I'd like to go back to here is, and Matt will explain this, in the great room on the south side, there's an open garden here, which is going to be hardscape and landscaping, and it's almost like a secret garden, which again, this space has both ocean, the western lawn, but it'll have a view through this opening here to this private garden, or secret garden. So you can see the whole plan relates to the exterior, and it's very open. It's balanced, but it's yet informal and casual, and there's her desire to have the linkage or the connection to the outdoors. Basically, to be able to walk out, and you'll see through the landscaping that it's what we call very passive, calm. There's not a lot of, apart from the garden areas such as the secret garden, that's really kind of a unique element. Everything is as natural as it can be, and that was intentionally done. The roof plan, you can see it's a hip roof, and it's I'll come back to the colors and the palettes of the finishes shortly, but it's a hip roof with, as I said, trellises. One of the things you'll notice here, she has an aversion to balconies, and the only balcony we have is off the master, which is just a sitting balcony off the master bedroom, because she didn't want to have a lot of interruption with looking at the views. You know, we all love the Chippendale traditional balcony rails, but they do impede, the view. So we limited any balconies or minimized the balcony design here. So these are just two-dimensional renditions of what the composition is. This is looking from the west, the top elevation. This is the garage element, and then on the left would be that side entry area. I've lost my cursor, here it is. Side entry into the house. Then you can see that this is the center great room with its fenestration, and this is that open, covered winter porch area, which is a very casual area. You'll notice the balance, there's a lot of symmetry, even though things are somewhat not disjointed, but not in one mass. We purposely broke that mass up because the plan, to respond to the plan, it worked well. And this is on the east side, again, good symmetry. We're not anywhere near our 50% criteria in terms of fenestration versus solid mass. The balcony element here, what we're proposing is just it'll have a knee wall, and these will be glazed panels interrupted every 3 feet by a picket rail, but it would be, that's the only element. As I said, we looked at many things, and that was the least or the most acceptable solution we thought. The style of this house, as you see, we're calling it a contemporary Anglo-Caribbean because obviously the massing, the roof slopes, the amount of fenestration, the use of triple units are very colonial in their origin. However, what this is just a cleaner approach to that style. In other words, we're not creating a lot of detail, a lot of casework around windows. I'll show you the detailing. We're doing some stone, limestone. Matt, maybe you can help me at this point. Let's start with the roof. The roof is a gray clay tile, which again is very normal, or it's trying to emulate what we use in the islands, which is that Canadian cedar shingle that goes to a silver color. And the important thing is the scale of the tile versus, what we always have, which is that wide 13-inch by 18-inch cement tile. We want it to be tight and very clipped and clean. The windows are going to be, they're going to have this graphite finish. They're going to be Tischler windows. I don't know if you're familiar with Tischler, but they're the most expensive window on the universe, I think. That's our current choice. We may have to continue to convince her, but I think it's going to be appropriate here. Obviously, there are muttons. There are muttons on the window, so again, there's no sheer glazing panels. The walls are going to be a distant gray, which is almost white. It's a very subtle color because you can sense that most of the tones are going to be light grays. We do have, in some of these trellises that you see on both the east and west, we're going to have Ipe pergolas, and this is the raw Ipe. The beauty about it is that it will fade to that kind of gray taupey color, which is a very warm and obviously natural looking finish. The limestone, did we have that? There is limestone, and I'll go into a little bit more detail. The elevations, as I said, are pretty, but let me just go to, you will see around the main openings will be an engaged column, which again has that traditional scale and proportion, but it's going to be in this limestone. And that's going to really case most of these openings, whether they're open or whether they're with fenestration. This is a winter porch, which is going to be an open peckycypress rafter and board ceiling. It'll have stucco finishes with the limestone, and then on the fireplace there will be coquina. This will be a stacked coquina element. Again, the palette is very natural and somewhat indigenous, which is, we're all familiar hopefully with coquina, but you don't have to pass it around, they're getting tired of it. You'll also notice that it doesn't show up very well on the elevations, but we do have rafter tails on the underside of the eave. Again, not as a bold expression. It's really more of a subtle expression, which you'll actually appreciate because most of the roofs are higher. So you'll see that detail. Again, simplified, none of this typical OG traditional. Again, it's just a very clean. So we're calling this really a calm, contemporary, Anglo-Caribbean, which is a name I created many years ago. But it's an eclectic, but yet scale and use of material is the critical, are critical to the solution. So, and true confession, we did meet with the town manager and the town clerk. I met with them privately. We had a little bit more ambitious scheme than this prior, and as history would know it, thanks to Rita. Yeah, So we compromised because I think what was originally proposed was a little bit too edgy, and it lost contact with the theme, you know, the Gulf Stream theme. But I think what we're showing you here is very much in keeping. Again, the elevations are not that exciting, so I'll just go, oops. That's the column, you know, again, proportions, the neck, the capital, everything, but it's just without all the ornamentation. And these would be again, in that limestone. This is a rendition of the entry on the north side. Again, very, you know, unassuming. The surprise is what this house is all about. You want to be able to approach it and not be aware of what you're going to encounter or see. So this leads up the pathway to the front door, and right about here, halfway up, is when you look through that open trellis garden deck and look across to the pool area. This is the house, and again, we've kind of peeled back some of it because we wanted to kind of show more of the hardscape architecture of it. The house, as you can see, the two-story element is central to the lot, flanked by, you know, the one-story elements either in the foreground here or on the south side. The idea is, and I'll let Matt explain this, it's going to be zoysia, I'm sure, very passive, kind of cascading. As you can see with the reason for we have to elevate the property. We have that 3-foot drop to deal with, so what they've done is created some clever uses of that grade. That pool, for all in effect, is going to be just very passive, but it does have a spillover into a spa below. And you know, you can see the massing, and then this is on the ocean side. Again, we've peeled it back a little bit with the landscaping just to show, you know, the relationship of the windows and the trellises and the materials. So these are the materials which I passed around, which we discussed. And what I'd like to do now is maybe have the board answer any questions before I go on to let Matt, or do you want to just continue through the presentation?
You can go ahead and continue.
Okay, I'll pass it over to Matt Jackman.
Thank you, Mark. For the record, Matt Jackman with Navarro Williams Design. Good morning. Here's our site plan. As Mark stated, along the right-of-way, we'll be preserving all of the pines, all of the site walls and gates. We'll be refinishing the existing driveway and modifying its limits very slightly with a tabby material, which is, I'm sure you guys are familiar with it, but it's a poured-in-place concrete with an exposed shell.
My turn.
That would be in a light beige color.
I won't try to pass it, it's pretty heavy, but.
We feel that it works with the palette of materials that Mark and his team are proposing. We have about 4 large sea grape trees on the property that we want to repurpose. 2 of them will be placed in this area right here. It might be hard to see, but basically we're creating a couple terminal islands and creating an archway with those sea grapes that lead you into the garage space, and that's separated by a side wall and a gate from the southern half of the property. We feel that mitigates the view from the street, if anybody's going to get one, towards the building. And also we'll maintain, place another sea grape tree in this corner of the property just to anchor it, give it some balance. As Mark indicated before, the northern portion of the property, the main entrance to the front door, is really where we're going to first get our first look at an intimate space. We're proposing a lot of Adenidia palms, a large Clusia hedge, some Rhapis palms, Monstera, things that are shade-loving, they're structured, they can be structured and clipped and create just a formal look with a little bit of shagginess to it, which our client tends to like. And as Mark alluded to, there is a water feature on access with this first porch element, which we're really fond of. It's probably 18 inches deep, a material that's dark so that it looks deeper than it really is, and then we're proposing a new site wall that links up to the existing on our property along the northern boundary, which will house a little bit of a spillover, just to get some sound mitigation in that area as well. But from that path, you walk a series of steps, which would be the stone and then a riser of corten steel, which is an element we'd like to implement into this design. It eventually rusts out and protects the metal within, but that, you can see that in the rendering later. So, and eventually
There's a magnet in there.
you can pass by that breezeway and head right into the front door where we have placed 2 green buttonwood trees for wind protection, salt protection for that space. There's also a barbecue area adjacent to those trees up in the northeast corner of the property, which is broken up by a site wall and a gate. And that opens up the vista as you work around the northern portion of the property. You have a large clusia hedge, understory of green island ficus, lots of swooping coconuts in the lawn, and as Mark stated, the eastern lawn is basically set up just for zoysia and coconuts and the beautiful views that currently exist. We're going to manipulate the grade using the site walls on the north and south property, and slowly, gently grade down to a set of ipe steps, which gets you out to the existing deck, dock to the ocean. The next hardscape feature that we're really fond of is the secret garden, we're calling it. There's a sea plum tree, which is relatively rare these days, that exists on the property that we're going to root prune and make it a focal point on access with the building in the southern portion of this space right here. So in there, we're going to be proposing gravel, a light layer of gravel, which is offset by some pavers, some coral pavers, just to get a little bit of texture in that space. Jasmine vines, rapis palms, just shade-loving material. So you can walk out there, sit down, and be engaged in the space. And then we're also proposing some sort of a water feature on the eastern elevation of this facade, which it's hard to see, but basically some sort of a water feature that again spills over, creates some sound mitigation. The other thing we're proposing in this area is an outdoor shower and an outdoor tub. The tub and shower will be lined with thatch palms that kind of create a little canopy over you, a little bit of protection from the elements. As you work your way into the rear of the property, really the home run back there is the pool. The pool and lawn are kind of seamless in nature. The zoysia just dominates the space. The client wished to have or requested to have a lot of green space to walk around with her dog, so we've given her that. We played around with the location of the pool, either on center with the main body of the house, or engaged with the winter porch, and I think as a team we all agreed engaging it with the winter porch is the best option. We proposed a stone walkway out to the pool. It has a chamfered beam so that it looks and appears like it's just a solid body of water. It also has a negative edge which spills into a shallow spot, which is essentially 2 feet lower in elevation than the grass main lawn. The steps to get down there are engaged with the southern portion of the garage. We're proposing some vines in that area just to break up the facade of the building. And palms in the back are essentially repurposed coconut palms. I think we have 3 of them. And then we'll add a few more just to get some canopy and some architectural features with the trunks. Again, the steps are kind of mimicking what's going on in the north. Their use of corten steel and coral. And then we're kind of leaving the southwest portion of the property open for her to walk around, play with dogs, entertain, whatever she wants to do in that space. But again, we're really focusing on the green space. Here's the elevation view from the street. Doesn't include the little hammerhead portion of the driveway, but essentially cuts off on the center line of the gate. So you see the gate, you see the palms that kind of lead you up towards the front door. The archway is the next element that you see on the top that kind of buffers the view into the garage, and then there's a bunch of existing sea grape trees that help mitigate the view. The bottom portion is east elevation, relatively simple with coconut palms and green buttonwood trees, clusia hedging, keeping that view open. And this is a cross-section through the north and south portion of the property. The top one is the north, which shows you how we gently progress up through that intimate space with the water feature and terracing, flipped and relatively formal landscape palette. And the southern is a view, the bottom portion of the page is a view through the second half of the property, the southern half. So you can see how we're placing vines on the building and along the ipe pergola as well.
Can I ask you about
Yes.
the sea plum, which is on the bottom
The bottom right, yes.
elevation? What sort of height are you thinking of when you've done your pruning? What with
Right now, it's about 14 foot tall,
Right.
and we want to get it into that space and kind of let it grow and fill up and maybe be a foot away from the facade at all points, just so kind of you walk out and it's an umbrella of green.
So at building completion, what height do you think that will be when you've done improvement?
Probably about 14 feet.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Because we can root prune it any time now and get it ready to go, and it probably takes about 8 weeks to move.
Okay, thank you.
That essentially completes the landscape presentation. If we have any questions or, circle back to Mark.
Thank you, Matt.
Rita or Greg, do we have any comment from neighbors, adjoining neighbors?
No, no comments.
And we know that you received notice.
Yes.
Very nice looking, Mark. Looked like you obviously listened to your client and kind of conformed to what she was wanting in the property.
Yeah, it was a nice challenge to have somebody that, wanted to preserve as much openness and natural beauty, and have the architecture kind of meander with that, so. It's a refreshing type of project, and it's appropriate for that setting, you need to have that indoor-outdoor connection. So they incubated hermetic concealed lifestyle.
When was the existing home built?
I don't know, pre-Rita, I know that.
Okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago.
No, it was, I think the Van Lennops had it built, I'm pretty sure, and then I would say '60s, mid-'60s. But there's nothing recognizable or very little of that house.
Georgette, Curtis?
Mark, one thing I've noticed as you drive down, that road, is that you rarely, if ever, see the houses, whereas a couple of the view that you had from the road, sort of, if you go
Silhouette.
back,
Yeah.
sort of reminded me of my trip to Egypt with those
Pyramids?
the 3 pyramids, because are the roofs going to be that much higher than the foliage on the
No,
road?
you won't, and what Matt didn't indicate, obviously, we've got all the Australian pines,
Oh,
which are not.
okay, and
we
the
just cut
Australian
them, yeah.
pines are gonna block
Yeah.
that off before, okay.
And at eye level, or car level,
Okay.
you'll never see that. I mean, I think the point is, the house is so set back, even though we had to
Yeah,
elevate it.
as most of them are, yeah.
Yeah, and it's only a 1-story area that's close to the street. And when I say close, it's 52 feet away, so.
Okay.
I think it's just fantastic.
So, Mark, one question is, we love 2-story homes, but we don't like to have 2 stories of flat surfaces. And, well, I don't think you have that because you have a little bit of an architectural setback here on most of the 2-story walls. How, is that like 6 inches of a cut-in, to break the?
It's about 2 inches, and it's, again, that subtle, in lieu of having a profile,
Right.
told you we've gone the other way and reversed it. Have me look back here.
I can see it on the elevations.
Yeah, that's. Thought we had it. It's actually on this drawing, it's, if I can get the cursor, it's on, I think it's illustrated here. It's just a ledge, and again, purposely to interrupt the sheerness of that. But again, this house, as you can see, even on the front, the upper, it stacks up. There's no real shear wall visible. It's interrupted by the roof trellis or that ledge element.
Okay. Any questions? City manager, city attorney, Rita, everyone fine? If not, would someone make a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of a land clearing permit.
Oh, second.
Rita?
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Roche?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes.
Next, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of a demolition permit.
A second.
Review.
Mr. Dockery?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Roach?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes.
Further, a motion to recommend approval of a North Ocean Boulevard overlay permit.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Dockery? Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Roach?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes.
And finally, a motion to recommend approval of a level 3 architectural site plan based on a finding that the construction of a 2-story, 7,612 square feet, single-family contemporary Anglo-Caribbean style home with attached single-story garage and guest house and swimming pool meet the minimum intent of the design manual and applicable review standards with the following conditions. 1. Any minor modifications in the approved landscaping should be submitted to the town manager for review and approval, and any major modifications should be brought back to the ARPB for review and approval prior to commencement of landscaping.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Dockery?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Roach?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Nice job.
We're gonna move in.
You want to take it with you?
Yeah.
Take it with you.
Yes.
Do you want to leave this stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, just put it
Yeah.
on the wall, it'll be fine.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Carlos, you're up.
I don't believe he was sworn in.
Oh, okay.
Is she going to speak?
Yes.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Can I just ask a question before we get started?
Sure.
I brought pictures of all the plant material to put on the screen, if you guys need that, if you don't.
Sure. Can we hold judgment?
Yes.
Okay, you don't need it?
Not right now.
Carlos, I fastened your color ones here, so if you want to use them, they're, all three are fastened. Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Carlos Linares with Randallsoft Architects. Good to see you all again. The project that we're submitting today, it's 3400 Polo Drive for Mr. and Mrs. Clark. I don't know if you're aware that our clients have already live in a house in Polo Drive as well. They are relocating to this particular house. They love the neighborhood so much that they are relocating, selling their previous home where they live now, and they wanted something in a slightly different tone, interior-wise as well as exterior. The home that we're going to propose today is a Gulfstream Bermuda. And I would like to take this time to pass around a rendering that we have prepared. We did not have it in time for this submittal, but I would like to have it passed around to each.
You gotta, oh, you're still deciding on
Still
the
deciding.
color.
Well, yeah, I know that there was gonna be a little bit confusion, I'll talk about a little bit of the colors. What we have proposed, at the time of the submittal, is the loose, front elevation with the white tile, and the taupe, shutters. That is, what we have proposed for our client. She had second thoughts on that. And I wanted to bring it into the board if the board would allow me to share with this with them, so we don't have to come back at a later point and resubmit these additional colors. So what I wanted to show you is what we submitted what we submitted the colors. But the gray roof, the gray charcoal roof is what our clients are wanting to propose instead. So I wanted to have both those color schemes to you guys, so you guys could have, either for the record or just for conversation. So if we could just, go to the rendering that has the dark roof, the dark charcoal flat tile roof, is what we are going to propose today, if we're allowed to do that at this point. So the home is a 2-story house, 3-car garage, 5-bedroom, guest bedroom on the first floor, the additional bedrooms and master bedroom up on the second floor. The home has been located within all the required setbacks. On the first floor, you're able to see a detached summer kitchen, outdoor living area that is connected by a trellis. It's an open trellis. It's more of a garden feature that we've decided to make a connection to. Obviously the garages are side loading garages. As I'm not sure whether we should walk through the floor plan necessarily, but as you can see, this is the 3-car garage, side loading, front door entry. We have 2 motor courts. This is more for the guests. This is what will be their everyday motor court leading into their garages. On this side is their guest suite. Over to the back would be a club room / office for them. First floor, you're able to see a little bit more detail of the first floor plan. With some furnishings, so it can give you a bit of scale and flow of the floor plan. Kitchen, breakfast, family room, living room, fireplace, all open plan, which is typically what they like. Club room off to the living room, a couple of steps up to their office, which is a pretty neat setup that we've done a couple of times, and they really like that. Up on the second floor is where all the bedrooms are, including their master bedroom. Master bedroom faces the rear. Her bathroom also faces the rear. off to the master bedroom, you have his bathroom as well with the elevator. Their children's bedrooms and an office is also located upstairs on the second floor. The second floor, obviously, the Gulfstream has implemented that the second floor steps back. So we've been able to achieve that. So the second floor steps back about 16 feet, which is what we've calculated onto the based on the lot width, or the first floor, I'm sorry.
16 on both sides?
16 on both sides,
Both
that is
sides.
correct. 16 on each side.
Yeah.
Second floor has also, we have also calculated the amount of the percentage of the second floor that we're allowed to construct over the first floor. We are allowed to be up to 50%. You know, we're very close, 49.5% is what we're proposing for the second floor. As far as the elevations, if we maybe just move forward towards the elevations, roof plan, very traditional type of roof plan. On the elevations, obviously we're proposing all hip roofs throughout. We've been able to maintain now that we don't have a discouraged or prohibited heights. We've been able to maximize the first and second floor eave heights. So we are proposing 9.9 9'9" for the first floor and 21 for the second floor, with which both those eave heights are within the Gulfstream criterias. Over to the rear, obviously we've always tried to maximize our windows, you know, towards the water. We are proposing to be at a 36%, which I know the Gulfstream regulations has recently changed again, from 52 down to 40, I believe. So we have been able to do that for our rear, which is, you know, typically where we have most of the windows anyway. So we are proposing 36% for the amount of windows that we have at the rear. For the front, it's never been an issue. So, you know, we've never presented the calculation, but we could if there is a question on that. The front elevation, I want to point out one particular item that I know is going to become a question, especially looking at the rendering as well. At the front, we've created a sort of a terrace look for the house. That is a low pitch roof. It's a 2 and 12 pitch still. It's going to have the same material as the rest of the roof, but it's not visible. Obviously, it's behind the parapet, so that's what you will see. And you can see the illustration more on the 3D, how that steps back and it sort of creates almost like a breezeway up on the second floor, connecting the two major masses that we've created onto the second floor. Obviously, you can see all the amount of details that we've included, all the colonial shutters, the Mutton profiles, columns that we've also included into this elevation. We also are proposing a canvas awning for the front of the house, and as you can see the rendering that illustrates the awning, and on the rear of the house as well, just to tie it in together with the front elevation. We've brought in most of the details that we're showing in the front towards the back with the colonial shutters, with the same concept, paneled colonial shutters for that matter. All the windows, I believe we've done all through the calculations as far as all the profiles, all the Muntins profiles and all the divisions for that. At the rear yard, we're also proposing a pool with a spa, symmetrical wet shelves on either side of the spa as well, and a spillover due to the grading that we are also proposing for this property. Now, the rendering does show a dock in the back, but that is not what we're proposing. That is just for illustration and, just to tie it all in. Obviously, the dock is not something that we are proposing today. So that is something that will be at a later point. Maybe the owners decide to do that at some point. I know that there is some issues with the seawall that they're looking into engineering to give them solutions how to fix that. But again, that is not something that we're going to propose today either. Landscape architect is also here today. We could probably just have her discuss the landscape a little bit as well, and then we could probably come back to questions if that's okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I found this place to be, this property to be lush. I felt for the people that lived there and did so many beautiful things and landscaping through the years, and a family lived there, and it just tears my heart to have to remove part of that history. But we did it, and I walked through the property with the homeowners with loving care for what was there. So, we unfortunately, we couldn't keep the stuff that really hides the water from there, because they want the view. And right now it's very, very hidden with big banyan trees that leave leaves in the pool and all over the place. So with respect to the previous owners and all the lovely things that they did, we wanted to keep a lot of the landscaping on both sides of the property, which also helped buffer the views from the neighbors to the property, which is what you guys require. There were some really beautiful natives, so we are going to heroically try to transplant some really big material that when I made some phone calls, we're gonna have to use a couple of cranes. The Perotis palms, which is one of them, Florida native, very, very porous trunk, roots, a lot of stems. They tend to fall apart when they're flying over a house or around, once they get airborne, they're coming apart. But we're gonna do our best to try to relocate some of those instead of just plowing them over and bulldozing them. So there's some beautiful, a stand of them here. There's an existing stand of Perotis palms here. And then I'd like to take one of the really nice clusters back here and move it here. And the homeowners are really, really happy to try to save as much as we can along the perimeters and give that piece of property keep some of its tradition, what's already existing there. The clients love a tailored tropical look, so that's what I tried to provide for them. It's a lot of just simple lawn space with a privacy hedge that they can keep where they feel appropriate, either just to hide the height of the cars. When they feel it's the right height, that's where they'll have it maintained. But we're doing a really nice photocarpus hedge along the front. We're doing a Sylvester palms flanking this parking court. We're doing triple palms for a little bit of a casual feel coming up to approach the front door. And then we're picking them up, a different variety, triples. Triples are a little more casual than single trunk palms, so putting a little bit of a casual feeling on the corners of the buildings to soften the edges. A little bit of a more formal look in the approach with some beautiful dark green textures. We've used a lot of shades on green. Some white flowering trees along here. We're using a palette that includes hibiscus flowers, a lot of plants that will do low hedge, very, very clean and clipped, and then behind maybe a tropical or a colorful ground cover or a shrub. So it's very, just 2 layers, very simple, very neat. We've also used bromeliads strategically throughout the property. Here it's a little more formal as you approach with the Sylvester palms, 4 of them in the front. We're keeping the existing landscaping all the way on both sides and just tailoring it and reeling it in from that little bit of a jungle look by doing long, nice, neat, clipped, clean ground covers and hedges. And here there's a really nice area of palms that I think it was like the homeowner's palmedum. We're keeping all the palms there except for a couple of rugolini palms, which are really like shrub palms. And we're going to fill it in with some beautiful tropical landscaping, elephant ears. She loves that lush, big leaf, tropical look. So we're keeping it very, very simple. And here is a private courtyard with windows that look out from 3 rooms. It's a little more zen, the feeling they wanted to get, so we're using a little bit more of a contemporary palette in there. They'll have some nice, either an art feature there, a sculpture. So this whole area looks onto that. It's got pebbles at the base, nice and chiseled, but then it's got some really nice tropical leaves coming out from behind that clipped look. In the back, we've kept everything really, really low, outside all these windows, just to be able to see the water. And again, we have Sylvester palms on either side, and this is their outdoor covered patio. And I've got palms softening that space, but this is really like the axis of the pool, like looking through here and then on the axis with the pool. This is gonna be really, really nice, just with, I'm trying to like use the stuff that's already on the property and bring it in there and just give homage to what, the property's history. We have coconut palms in grass. We have 2 and then 4, just to create a little bit of shade while they're standing, like sitting in here in the summertime. This creates a shadier environment when the sun's setting. They actually can use the space late in the afternoons, early evening. And there's an existing, wow, it's great. I used one of the avocados the other day. An avocado tree we're keeping. It's a really nice one. It's improved lovely over the years. We're keeping that. And then on the back sides, we've added a little bit of color. We're adding sea grapes, a sea grape tree here and here to flank that peripheral view from the property on both sides and even it out like symmetrically. The neighbors have a lot of landscaping on their sides already. We have a lot on our side. So we're going to take 2 of the really nice clusters of areca palms that are as tall as the ones existing over here, and we're going to fly them over with a crane to get them into these 2 spots where there's like 2 missing teeth in that beautiful tree hedge that they have. So we're going to put, transplant 2 there. And this is the garage parking area. We're just going to keep it really nice and clipped with podocarpus. He loves that really clean, neat look over there. And so this is the foundation landscaping from the, what you see up against the house. That would be this area here. That's what's shown. Everything is low. It's all going to stay underneath the window banding. Then we've got some tropical punches. Just very clipped and neat is what he likes, and that's what he was hoping to achieve here. This shows all the existing material on both sides between them and the neighbors, which is really nice because it's mature. It's 2 stories high, and we don't have to make it happen. It's already there. Again, here, this is the view from the road, what you'll see, along the edge of the road and the right-of-way. We've got color. We've got bougainvillea, we've got some hibiscus standards, we've got Japanese blueberry trees, a little bit of the darker to punch the entries and then softening the colors in between. And this is the privacy hedge that runs along the front of the property. And this is what you're gonna see from the back and the sides. Existing landscaping on both sides, that's to remain. This area is really deep with existing palms, and we're gonna be putting in alocasia and claridendron, like just beautiful, full philodendron Congo. I don't know if you guys are familiar, so I did bring my computer. We could look at the photos on the screen. And then we've got just beautiful bromeliads, and then we've got some bougainvillea going up on the walls of this recovered patio. And then this is what the neighbors are gonna see. It's already there. It's
Eureka.
a wall of areca palms. So towards the back of the house, it's on our side we have it, and in the back of the house the neighbors have it. So it's covered already. So I didn't draw each individual plant. That's what the neighbors are going to see. So it really covers the requirement of privacy. Does anybody have any questions? Would you like to see the overhead?
The question on the front elevation, it's going to be very visible from the road. Are you not going to screen it a little better from Polo? I mean, is that the owner wants it?
Well, the house that we did, the house 2 doors down that they live in now, is really, really private. There's a fine line between making it overdone and being able to spot, see, like as you're driving through, to be able to see just little. They don't want to hide the house completely, but they want the privacy, and they're supposed to walk with, make separation between public and private. But these plants can actually be clipped and kept and maintained the way that they're required. They're very clippable. They can let them grow bigger. Whatever they need to do, these trees here can be kept narrow, and you can actually see through them, bits and pieces as you drive by, or they can allow them to grow really full. It just depends on maintenance, how they decide to maintain them. These actually can be cover and touch, and then it can be so full that you can't see, you can't penetrate through them. It's very, very versatile plant material. They're all leafy, so I think if there were palms up front, it would be different. You couldn't really have that fluffy fullness, but these are all trees, so you can get it as private as they want or they need to.
Let's stay on landscaping. Anybody got any other questions on landscaping? No?
I do have just
Go
one
ahead.
comment to make. It's that the landscaping in the front,
Yeah, that was my
you just need to remember not to plant it in the right of way. So,
Yeah, we have nothing
There's a
planned.
swale.
Is there a
There's
swale?
probably a swale in
See
there.
that tree?
It's the right of way is pretty narrow,
Yeah.
and I think, I'm not sure, but I think there might have to be a little bit of grading done to get a better swale in there, because the existing house.
They had to
I
do it
didn't
on their other
notice.
property.
I didn't notice a real noticeable swale. I mean, but they could put one in. I mean, it's just a matter of regrading when they're done.
yeah, they just need to pay attention to that.
That's like a site, that's like a site.
And one more question for you. I don't know whether you're, Carlos, or you as the pavers. The pavers in the renderings looks very nice and uniform and consistent, but the example of the pavers that's on the sheet that was handled out, it looks really seriously busy to me. Is it gonna look like that?
Well, obviously the image is a little distorted and maybe not true to a scale. I was just trying to show you guys what the color is, and this is a little bit more detailed. But it is the intent of that is what it's going to look like. And maybe there are a few that are a bit too dark.
The rendering or the one sheet?
The one sheet with the sample,
Yes,
this here, there's a couple of pieces that are a bit too dark
yes.
for the rendering, but the rendering is what we're
Okay.
trying to achieve.
Okay, thank you. All right, off of landscaping, questions on the residents?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Georgette.
Can you explain that second-story breezeway area again? And
Yes.
what material is on the wall there?
The material on the wall is a board and batten. Obviously, it's not going to be true wood. We've been using a lot of the hardy boards, and the hardy boards are being made just so they're very authentic. And this is what you're talking about, correct? So we've accented that wall with a board and batten texture that is going to match the shutters.
I also have a question about the breezeway.
Yes.
Can you speak to the pitch of that again? The pitch of the breezeway?
Yes, so in order for you guys to probably understand that a little bit more, we'll look at the second floor overlooking that area there. So this is a much shallower pitch. This is, I believe, we're proposing, I can't remember, 5 and 12. We're proposing a 7 and 12 pitch. This is probably going to be only like a 2 and 12 pitch. It's a very shallow pitch, and it's going to pitch away from the house into this roof here. Obviously, we haven't done all the working drawings yet, so there's no details for that. But this is just, not to be a visible roof is all we're doing. We're not going to do a 1/4 inch and 12 or anything like that. Because obviously it is visible from this window, so we don't want, just whatever material out there.
Right.
So we're trying to do the same material here as well.
Okay. In the design manual under Gulfstream Bermuda style, under what used to be preferred is a pitch of 6/12, and then discouraged, and then obviously prohibited was any slopes less than 5/12.
Okay. But would that be including even if it's not visible?
It doesn't qualify that way in the code.
Okay.
Doesn't provide any qualifications for that in the code.
Well, would the board prefer for that to just be a flat area? I mean, I didn't think that was a, visual effect that
This
we're
is
trying to
Behind the
achieve.
parapet.
Yes, that is
Behind the
correct.
parapet, the pitch of the base,
Correct,
For
correct.
water?
This area here, obviously,
Yeah.
we're not trying to do a flat
no.
surface. We're trying to pitch it away, but because it's not visible is what my question is to the board. It is never going to be visible other than introducing a material, a true finished material that is going to be visible from the inside
From
of
the
house.
inside windows.
That is correct. That's the only place that you're ever going to see
And the-
that material.
Where will water drain?
The water will drain off to this roof, because
Okay.
this is a higher roof, and
Uh,
it pitches onto this.
I see.
And
Okay.
the commission can recommend this forward as presented if you'd like to do that.
And it won't be used by people, it's not.
No, it's not accessible. We only have windows
Okay.
pointing to that point, to that area.
Okay, another question about the roof. The design manual for the Gulfstream Bermuda style requires a flat white through and through, smooth uncoated tile, or a gray slate tile. Is this gray slate?
Yeah, so it's that typical charcoal gray tile that we've been using for all our homes.
It looks brown on these, that's why I think.
It's printing a little, even the shutter color is coming out a little bit more brown than it's supposed to.
So as in slate, it also allows, at their discretion, flat gray through and through uncoated tile of similar slate color. So,
It's the slate color, correct. It's called charcoal, but it's the slate color, that is correct.
okay, so the commission can approve this.
Yes.
We saw the view from the neighbours. Has there been any comments from the neighbours?
No.
We have a neighbor
I have-
here. Would you like to talk, or would you like,
Well-
have you been sworn in, or are you just gonna ask a question?
What is the hardship that requires that this house is bigger than the lot lines require? Why do we need exception?
Okay, so I understand your question. So we are asking, there is a special exception that would allow you to create, and what the code stipulates is that they're trying to promote outdoor living areas.
Right.
So this outdoor living area, in order to make it apply, we are asking for 166 square feet additional of open space. Basically, it has nothing to do with the house itself. It's the open
I'm
space.
the neighbor to the north. Is the garage closer to me now than the existing?
The garage, currently, as we are proposing it, now this is the setback. The setback is 31.5 feet is what is required. The house itself is not even, it's probably another 2 feet away from the setback and another 5 feet from, so we're probably about 45 feet
Okay.
away from that setback right there.
All right. My neighbor Jim Walton called too. He's concerned about his view. He's on the corner of the Polo Cove
Okay,
behind my house. So,
which is,
so he,
okay, so we are here. This is
That's
you,
Jim.
and this is,
that's Jim, yeah.
okay. Mhm.
So what is he gonna see if it's different? Is the outdoor living space being built in his view?
Not at all. As you may be able to see, this is what we are proposing for that side view to be, and that is pretty lush. All you're going to see peeking out is the
This is
roof.
my view down here.
This is correct. This is the north view right there.
But Jim's
So
on the
all
water,
of
so-
that, you will be able to see, and this is the landscape. So in the landscape, this is all pretty lush. And depends on where you're standing here, you're going to be able to see all this clump of palms, as well as the rest of the landscape that is existing there. And way back here is where you're going to be able to start to see the outdoor, which is a single-story structure
Right,
that we're proposing, almost like a garden structure,
okay.
is what you will be able to
So
see.
the house is 7,500 plus square feet, and the law requires 7,410.
Correct.
So why? I mean,
Like I said, the code allows you, as a special condition, only if it is an outdoor living.
that's where the 7,500?
Yes, that is correct.
Gotcha.
That is correct.
It doesn't allow you,
Well-
it gives you the opportunity to ask for it.
Correct, correct.
And I have watched a lot of your building within this corridor, and I have never seen less than 2 exceptions. I mean, you always have exceptions, and that was exactly my question, Penny, that, you know, you're dealing with a 7,400 square foot house, and you're asking for another 166 feet. I mean, plus 30 feet from the water. You know, I sort of, I look at it as this is something that's endemic to your building. And it's something that I tend to object to within this corridor because everything is getting bigger and bigger and higher.
Well, we're just looking at what we're allowed to propose, and you know, there's obviously items that you have to comply with in order for you to be able to propose that. It's just not everybody's going to be able to do it.
It's not items you're allowed to propose, it's items that you are offered to ask for an exception on.
Correct. And, you know, we've gone through the requirements that the code stipulates for you to be able to request for that. doing the calculations that is requested, that it complies with what the code is asking for. You know, the special exception of the setback for the rear, you know, it's gotta be so high, it's gotta be a single story. You know, all of that, we study the code, whether we're going to be able to propose that, and be able to make sure that we are complying with what the code is asking for you to do in order for you to be able to come into the board and show you guys what we're doing.
You're able to come to the board and ask for
The
exemption.
special exception, that is correct.
And my question is that within 7,410 square feet, you couldn't somehow cut 166 feet off of something else?
I guess we could have. We could have been able to do that. You know, square footage of bedrooms or whatever it may be, could have been sacrificed to do that and be within the square footage that is required. Obviously, some of these areas are, what my understanding is to propose for open outdoor living areas, you know, and that's where the code is my interpretation that is what is promoting, and that is why the special exception is able to be presented to you guys.
Well, we've had lots of discussion about special exemptions.
Mhm.
And the idea that we are going to look at curtailing special exemptions. One other question I have, what is the square footage of the Clark's present house? You built it. Do you
It's
remember?
the same, it's just about
Exactly
the
the
same.
same.
It's just about the same. You know, obviously the second floor with the step backs and the percentage that change, it might be a little smaller than it is. It may be about 200-300 square feet, but it's just about the same.
So we're basically talking about spec building here.
I'm sorry?
We're talking about speculative building. We're gonna build this house, either the Clarks are gonna move into it, or you're gonna sell it.
No,
Or
they're
gonna-
moving,
or
they're
they're
moving
gonna sell it.
to the house, and how this came about was that, you know, obviously after building their home, there were things that they noticed, well, we could do that better
Yeah,
for us.
I heard that argument.
Okay, so that is where everything is started driving towards this house. So they really love this house, and those are the things that they thought they should have done on their previous house that they're doing now on this home. But they understand that codes have changed, and the house has to be a little bit smaller, and they're okay with that.
Can I, for the record, show that Chairman Smith had to leave and has handed over to myself to continue this meeting? I have 3 points. One, Mrs. McCall, were your questions addressed, your concerns addressed in your responses?
I still don't really think we need the exceptions. I think it has to be
That's
smaller.
actually coming on to my second point. No, that's fine, thanks, okay. But to follow on from Kirsty's points, we've had many discussions on this panel board about the special exemptions. They were introduced to assist people with pre-existing buildings to face the challenges they had to meet the code.
Okay.
When you have essentially a blank piece of paper to go to work on, we all feel, I think, that you don't need to use them. They're there to help people who are challenged because they can't meet the code exactly, all right? Obviously, it can't go past the prohibited and things like that, but that's the context. And moving forward, I take Curtis's point, nearly every presentation you bring to this board has a special exemption in it.
Mhm.
I think that's leveraging, let's say, a part of the code which doesn't have to be leveraged. Okay, now that's my opinion. I absolutely take your point that you are adhering to the code and you are applying to this board using the code for our decision. I think the main point here is that 166 square feet is, it seems infinitesimal in the whole scope of this plan. There's a certain word I could use, but I'll probably get shunted out of the meeting. I don't think it's needed.
Okay.
That's my view, personally.
That's absolutely fine.
Malcolm, you're making the point, because they obviously want this outdoor, everybody wants to have
Of
an
course.
outdoor.
Yeah.
So if the house was 166 square feet smaller, the 7410, then it wouldn't be a special exception, so that over this 106, which is basically, what's that, 10 by 16?
Yeah.
So if this homeowner were to essentially give up either like a whole bedroom or in the whole mass of the building, just 166 square feet, we would get rid of that exception. And that would, I think that's what I'm hearing, the consensus is, so,
Yes.
is that good?
Yes.
Can I ask for some guidance as well, please? Troy, is this within our remit? Because if the application conforms to the code, do we have the ability here to make the recommendation that that special exemption is removed?
Yeah, absolutely. You can reference section 66-164. Those are the review standards for granting special exceptions. And you can say that it doesn't meet all the standards therein. You know, you can obviously, if he wants to resubmit the application or modify it, you can defer it to a time certain, or if he wants a firm recommendation of denying those exceptions, that would obviously go before the board, but I imagine he would want maybe a positive recommendation, so he's not going to the commission just to be denied the application, having to resubmit or start the process over. I mean, that's obvious, that's up to him certainly, but it is within your discretion to deny an application for a special exemption for not meeting those standards that I referenced.
Okay. The discussion between the members on the board re our position on this, would we have to take a motion whether we want to take that out separately and then do the motion for the entire project?
Well, the special exceptions have, require a motion.
Yes,
Yes.
no, I was wondering if we, before we say, because in the recommendations for the motion,
Right.
we say that we'll include it.
Right.
Whereas prior to doing that, we need a discussion between ourselves and a motion to say that it's something we don't want to
Yes.
do. Okay. To the panel, what is our opinion?
I agree with you, Malcolm.
Okay. Curtis, I think I know yours.
Yes,
Anthony,
my voice,
Mandy?
I like what you say.
I'm not exactly clear exactly what you're
We're
asking.
saying whether we should make a part of the final motion
Mhm.
to remove the first exemption of, or was it the second, sorry, for the second exemption of 166 square feet.
And
What we've been talking about, exactly what
Right.
we've been talking about, we're saying should we?
Okay.
Yeah.
So that he would have an approval if he reduced the size of the house?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's something
So
that
in
makes
that
sense.
case,
That would
yes,
make a
in
lot of
that
sense.
case, we need to word that motion. Can I can't do it, can I? As chairman.
No.
You're the best motion giver.
He moved up though.
You did.
well, I'll make a motion that we would consider the approval of this house if the special exemption for an additional 166 square feet is eliminated from the proposal. Is that?
Well,
Let
You
me
just-
ask you this, I mean, and you can do that, I mean, you can make a motion to that effect. Do we want to see if Carlos wants to submit, an amended plan? That, like you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, that maybe he takes 166 square foot out, so
Do we
somewhere else.
just push this to a time forward to say?
I don't know, I mean,
Carlos,
Because
this is a
it-
two-way
We don't know your
conversation.
timeframe.
We don't know your timeframe, your
Carlos.
pressures, we're not being onerous, but we
Carlos,
do want.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
so see, Carlos, if they make this motion, then it's gonna go to the commission that way, so. That's kind of up to you.
So my option would be to amend the plan, omit the special exception, and would I be able to then proceed to commissions? Or
Yes.
would I have to come back?
Yeah, I mean, the ARPB would then need to make a recommendation as a board.
It would go forward that we recommend.
As long as the special exception
yeah,
is
we will
not.
recommend it as long as this special exemption is no longer within the plan.
Okay. Okay,
That's
that I will,
yeah.
yes, I will accept it.
But I guess we would need to ask ourselves how you're going to eliminate that square footage.
Well, obviously, the outdoor living is what's going to have to be omitted, or
Really?
reduced quite a bit, you know.
You think the homeowner would go for that?
I would assume that that's their best case scenario, rather than losing a bedroom. I mean, you know, the bedrooms is pretty important to them, and, you know, they're very specific as far as what they want. You know, so, the
Okay.
outdoor living is what would have to be sacrificed, and whether they wanna do just some sort of trellis, open trellis that is not covered, that, you know, is something that they could also consider. But, you know, again, it's still a structure, just for the fact that it's not roofed. But, you know, that's sort of where they're gonna be, having to do.
That's the option.
Well, but,
Again,
but we've been through this many times before, and we oftentimes have discussions about precisely this with various different architects, but you quite often. And so I think that at some point in time, the board has to make their position known. And
Yeah, absolutely, and, you know, we've gone through a couple different items as far as anything that was discouraged, and I think, you know, I know the board has made adjustments to the code due to that. I do not recall ever having an issue with the special exception, but, you know, I definitely understand your point. But, you know, we're also, you know, trying to comply with the code and what the code stipulates, and, you know, what our client requires, you know,
what your
so.
client is asked for.
Exactly,
We understand
exactly,
that.
so,
And Carlos,
that-
not to confuse things, but, and, I mean, we've had this conversation, and what the ARPB and the town commission has done recently, and you're correct about that, is to amend the design standards such that we don't allow any more
exactly,
discouraged items and obviously prohibited items. It's only the items that were listed as recommended,
correct.
or preferred. But with and they did not identify or make any changes to the special exception.
Correct.
But they do have the right to not recommend those. So that's where we're at right now.
okay.
So,
Is there any more?
I'd like for Trey maybe
Yeah,
to,
So just like procedurally,
yeah,
I think what would be in the best interest is for Carlos to get with the owners and determine what the final application will be. So then the ARPB can make a recommendation on whatever that application is. Because right now, there's this amorphous, we're going to approve it without this special exception, but you're not really getting a final look of what is going before the commission. So what really needs to happen is we can defer this to the next meeting. I just wanna make sure.
Shorten the garage by half a foot.
Sure.
Right.
There could be a number of different
Maybe
things.
shrink one bedroom by a quarter of a foot. I mean, you can
Yeah.
find
6 inches around the
166.
perimeter.
Now granted, that's gonna require you to write a whole bunch of new plans, but you don't necessarily have to, you know, wash out the outdoor it's up
It's all on
to
a
you.
computer, you just, click a few buttons and.
Yeah,
Your clients don't want.
That's your,
It's not heavy.
Don't tell your clients that.
That is your
You
expertise.
sound like my boss.
Yeah, but that is your expertise. In that case, on the guidance, could we get a motion to follow that guidance we received? That
A motion to what?
to basically
Resubmit it?
resubmit, defer this to time forward, after you've consulted the clients, they're happy with the plans, because as you said, you're doing what the clients want.
Correct.
What you come up with, they may not want.
That is also correct.
And
That
therefore,
is
the
also
commission,
correct.
if we recommend it, will just be all through again, so.
and that's right, I mean, it's like, as Arnold said, you're gonna go consult with them, and they come up with a different plan that has been presented to them, so they can't really say that they recommended the plan that would be in front
Of course,
the
of
board.
course, it's just eliminate confusion. I understand.
And before we get that motion, I think it would be a good idea to get a sample of the tiling, because that was a discussion issue. As you say, that may not be a clear rendition on the tile.
Okay,
If you could get a sample of
Roof
that tile.
okay.
Are you talking about the pavers or the roof tile?
No, roof tile, sorry.
Okay.
Because we're getting very good at passing it around.
That's right, yeah. Yes, I think we need a clear description
Yeah.
of the roof tile.
Yeah, but perhaps you just.
A sample,
Yeah, a
a
sample.
sample of the roof tile.
Yeah, I'd like to see us.
I mean, Carlos, I mean, you can go right to the code book here and it tells you what you can and can't. It's very specific for this this style of house.
Okay.
And it's very limited as to what you can put up there, so.
Well, I've been in front of the board many times, and we've looked at this
Yeah.
similar tile that we've always
Okay.
used, and that is why, it's my fault, I didn't bring it today, but, yeah, I will definitely.
Yeah, it's just that is, to me,
The rendering
Oh,
is
right,
is
I
a
agree.
little deceiving,
Yeah,
correct.
sure.
okay.
Can I ask one more
Yes,
question?
Jason.
Is, in this style house, I guess I should be asking this way, is the board and batten, is that allowed in the code? Because I'm- Rita, sorry. Because I don't.
It
recall
isn't
that.
specifically addressed,
It isn't, but it isn't prohibited.
no.
Yeah, not to my knowledge, it's not prohibited.
Is there any more discussion on this before we move forward with the motion as discussed to defer this?
No.
In that case, could I ask someone to make a motion, please?
Okay, so,
That would be a motion to defer to a time
Yes,
certain,
to
which
a
is
time
the
certain.
November 15th meeting.
okay, so we'll make a motion that the architect will consult with his clients to eliminate the special exception of 166 extra square feet over the allowable square footage, and resubmit to the ARPB
For the November 15th meeting.
for the next meeting.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Roach?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Acting Chairman Murphy?
Yes. Okay, thank you, everyone. Moving on with the meeting now. Are there any items by staff?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any items from the board? Okay, from the public who have vacated? In that case, I'd like to adjourn this meeting.